Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Money Down Pod, the NFL Draft Recap Edition. The draft is over, and we are here to break it down with no one better than my guy, Sean White. Give him a follow at Dumpster Fire Fan. Myself at Kayvon_sports. I hope everyone enjoyed the draft. I hope everyone is happy where their team is at. It is the year of hope. It is the month of hope. And it's now time to dig in and see where these teams went wrong and where these teams went right. Sean, know you're a big draft nerd. How did you like how everything came out? I thought Vegas killed it. I thought the NFL killed it, as always. It was a great time.
Yeah, it was a great time. I love the draft. It's like a holiday for me. I love watching all the players get drafted. I love seeing what my Jags do, what your team does, the Falcons. I love to keep up with that. I love prospects in general. We mention it all the time on our college football show, which we're huge on and can't wait to get that going again when the season comes around. But I strictly watch college to watch scouting profiles, like to watch players that are going to get drafted. I already have like list going for next year's draft. I'm such a big nerd on it. So I love the draft in general. It was a great time. I know it wasn't a highly rated draft. And I real quick, just on the ratings, because I know people were talking about it. I mean, 8 people didn't have first round picks, like 8 teams. So that like blocked out a bunch of them on Thursday. And it was a weaker draft without the quarterback star power. So, I mean, come on now. It'll be back next year. It'll be like 5 quarterbacks. There won't be as many teams without first round picks. It'll be the same. I thought Vegas did a great job. It was a fun time.
First of all, great point about the 8 teams not having first round pick. That's a huge deal because not everyone is nerds like me and you. They just tune in to see what their team does. And if their team doesn't have a pick, they don't care. So that's a great point. Also, look, quarterbacks drive the sport. That's just it. This wasn't a quarterback hype draft, and that's how it is. And second, bad ratings or down ratings for the NFL draft is still really damn good ratings. So, let's also just mention that. It's still really good ratings, and I'm sure the NFL is happy. And I'm also, from what it seems like, pretty sure that Vegas will be hosting that draft again soon because it looked insane out there. Let's get into it. So, by the way, Sean just told you guys that he has already been studying some draft players for next year. Little sneak peek here. At the end of this week, this show today, we are going to give you guys who we predict will be the top 3 picks in next year's draft, okay? We're both going to give you 3 players, people to watch. We'll shoot out a couple names as well to honorable mentions that could go top 3 in next year's draft. So those that are kind of excited to hear some names, maybe some quarterbacks, stay tuned. That will be at the end of the show. To start off, we're going to do our first 3. We're going to do our 3 favorite drafts and then our 3 least favorite drafts. So, Sean, without further ado, what was your favorite draft? Do you want to do 3, your third favorite, or your first favorite? How do you want to do it?
I was just going to lead off with the first.
All right, yeah. What was your first favorite draft?
So obviously, my first favorite would have to be the one, and I'm going to base this kind of off my rankings and how I feel. And just a disclaimer out there, I'm not really judging your like 4th or 7th round picks. Those are like such random hit rates, unless you really got someone that was falling down like that, which you never know if it's a medical thing or anything. I mean, Justin Ross just got signed, and it's basically because his neck is in shambles, and he's like lucky to even be playing. So when it's a situation like that, you're taking flyers at that point. So I don't really like to judge those picks as much. I'm really judging you based on those first 3 rounds. And I got to say, the New York Jets knocked it out of the park, which is unusual to say the way they've been ran before. But we went over our top 15 players, our last big board, and they ended up with my number 1, number 4, my number 3 and number 4 player, and then my number 20 player, all in the first 4 picks. So if I give it to anyone else, then I'm just going against my own rankings, and that's just not even possible to do. First off, to be able to get Sauce Gardner, such a solid pickup, safest prospect in the draft to me. He's going to be good no matter what, playing corner, man-to-man, or zone. Then you look at Garrett Wilson. He was my number 1 ranked receiver. He's going to be able to get open. He's going to fit the scheme well, get cheap throws in that LaFleur-Shanahan scheme. He's going to work well in that. Then you pick up a Jermaine Johnson, which I'm still not sure why he's falling. Have no idea what happened on that. I don't know if people said attitude or something, but I just find that very strange. Them coming up to get him was just the icing on the cake. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think he's the best edge rusher in the draft prospect-wise. I don't think he might not have the higher ceiling than some of these guys. Maybe Thibodeau, maybe Walker, maybe even Hutchinson could get up there and out sack him. But right now, as a prospect, I would have taken Jermaine Johnson over those three. So getting him at 26 is crazy. And Brees Hall, obviously the top running back in the draft, going to fit that one cut scheme, 1-2 punch with Michael Carter. They had a bunch of running back injuries, and that's what happens in the Shanahan schemes. You got to have multiple backs. I feel like they got a very good workhorse right there, and now a 1-2 punch with him and Michael Carter. Such a solid draft for the Jets. I can't fault them. There are 4 starters, 4 high-level starters, and 4 real good building blocks to go with Zach Wilson and what they already had there.
No doubt. It is remarkable what the Jets did. Absolutely remarkable. And I'll get to them in a minute. But my number one draft was the Ravens. Everyone was raving about the Ravens. I love what the Ravens did, man. They got Kyle Hamilton, who, by the way, is going to fit perfect in the Mike Macdonald defensive scheme plan. All right. Mike Macdonald, for those that don't know, he was the Michigan defensive coordinator. All right. So he had Dax Hill, and he did a bunch with him. Now imagine what he's going to do with Kyle Hamilton there. He came over and he's now the Ravens quarterback, which then gets me to they go and get Ojabo in the second round, who also played for Mike McDaniel. He's going to know how to use Ojabo the best possible way. And then one of my favorite picks is they got Tyler Lindenbaum. And what I love, man, is they trade away Marquise Brown to get a first for him, which to me is wild. I don't think he deserves a first-round pick, but now we realize with the Hopkins news coming out, that's why the Arizona did that. I think that Baltimore is now going back to this run-heavy set, and they're going to go back to the MVP-type Lamar. And I know Lamar doesn't really want that, but I think that sets them up to be most successful in the long run. And that to me gets me really excited. And then also they got Travis Jones, who was my second-ranked nose tackle and a defender that I thought could go in the top 50, and they got him with pick number 76. So the value that they got in Travis Jones there is huge for me. And when you put all those together, I mean, I was talking about Kyle Hamilton possibly going 8 overall. Like, I love what the Ravens did. Not only did they do great, they're going to know how to use these pieces, which make me even more excited. The Ravens, to me, just absolutely hit it out of the park, which they do every single year, by the way. But this year felt even more like it.
Yeah, I love the Ravens draft. They're actually my number 3, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about them right here. And I'm just going to say you knocked it out of the park with your points. I mean, exactly what I'm talking about. Linderbaum getting him at center. He's a menace in the run game, man, and that's what they like to do in Baltimore. They're going to get all those running backs back that were injured, and I know they're all coming off injuries. But you got Dobbins coming back, you got Gus coming back, you got the group there coming back. And even though you do ship Hollywood, who really is the speed guy they need on the outside, they really doubled, and not only doubled, but tripled down on what they're great at with Mark Andrews at tight end. They now have Kohler and Isaiah Likely. So you're going to see some 3 tight end sets out there. You're going to see them when they go into 12 personnel and all of that. They're going to have these interchangeable tight ends. They're going to have the 2 tight end sets rolling, and they all can catch whether they go in and out. And that's just how the Ravens are going to play. They know what they're doing, and they just let the board talk to them. They let whoever is falling to fall. They pick them up. The Ravens are just such a solid team overall, and I can't fault them at all. I love all their draft picks. They were my number 3 team. And do you want to go over the Jets since they're on your top ones?
Yeah. I'll go over the Jets now. I completely agree, by the way. They do so well. So the Jets, to me, Sean nailed it on everything. They hit a home run. They got both me and Sean's number 1 cornerback as the number 2 cornerback off the board. Like that, even though it was number 4 overall, that's value because that was our number 1. That was their number 1, and they got him at number 2. They got Garrett Wilson as number 2, which, by the way, was both of our wide receiver 1s. They got him as a wide receiver 2. Another value play. They didn't have to move up to get him. And then the fact that they got Jermaine Johnson, like Sean said, just completely caps it off. But they don't stop there. They trade up to get Jermaine Johnson, and they still have an early second-round pick where they take Brees Hall, which, by the way, this to me was the nail in the coffin right here. Brees Hall is the perfect running back for the Kyle Shanahan run scheme. He is a definition of a north-south runner that just will run straight like Kyle said, and that's what they're going to do there. They're going to use Breece Hall the right way with that run scheme. I love what they did. I know a lot of people are like Michael Carter. Breece Hall is better than Michael Carter. They did so well with this draft. Nothing needs to say more because Sean said it well, but I love what the Jets did with my number 2 favorite class.
Yeah, so my number 2, so out of the 3, I said Jets 1, Ravens 3, and like I said, we already have 2 in the same top 3, so I'm curious to see what your other one's going to be and to see if it matches, because I don't know if it's going to or not, but for me, number 2 is actually the Kansas City Chiefs.
That's my number 3.
Okay. I think the Kansas City Chiefs came away with their first 3 picks getting exactly what they needed.
Exactly.
I think they could have took Sky Moore at their first round picks, got him in the second. And I want to point this out to people because, and we're going to do this when we cover fantasy in the summer when we're previewing it. I see a lot of people talking about Tyreek Hill replacement. I think Mecole's the Tyreek Hill replacement. I think they play Hardman in that role. I think Sky Moore is going to be the guy that gets the release and separation and be the upgraded version of what Sammy Watkins was supposed to be for them. I think he plays that role because he gets the separation and the release off the line, but I don't see the speed that Tyreek had. Mecole Hardman is close to fast than Tyreek Hill.
Oh, for sure.
Tyreek Hill and Jamison Williams are on a completely different level. Mecole Hardman's like that one gear behind him. So I think he's going to fill the Tyreek role, whereas Sky Moore is going to be able to get the free releases in the Z and Y spot while Kelsey takes up the X every now and then. I think he's in the perfect spot. Going on to the other 2, though, Trent McDuffie, they needed a corner bad. They traded up and got him. Such a solid pick for that defense. And then Carl Loftus fell right into their lap. And he's not going to be asked to be the brunt pass rusher out there with Chris Jones being there. They have the squad now. They have the upgrades they needed. I think the Chiefs just hit the ball out of the park to really be a contending team and make up for the pieces that they lost because they already signed Justin Reed free agency to replace Honey Badger.
You're spot on. That is so funny that we have the same top 3, different order, but the same top 3. My thing is this, man. The Chiefs nailed it. I thought the Chiefs. We talked about this a lot. Sean used this word a lot too when we were doing the draft. The board, the way you play the board. They played the board so well. Sean, they could have taken Sky Moore in round 1, and no one would have blinked an eye. Everyone would have said that's a great pick. Instead, they let Sky Moore fall to them in round 2. They didn't panic. They got Trent McDuffie, who, by the way, I think is going to be the second best cornerback in this class. I think Trent McDuffie is going to be awesome. I really like him. Karlaftis is a pass rusher that they need really bad. And then they got, like we just talked about, and then also I did the draft highlights for Leo. I always get his name, Chanel, even though I did that for ESPN. So I watched all of his games. He's the modern day linebacker. He's going to go side to side. He's a great tackler. He will help them. He will be a starter for them. Not just he will be an impact player for them from the start. And then one of my favorite late round picks in the draft is they got Darian Kinnard, the offensive tackle out of Kentucky, in round 5. Like everything they did there just makes so much sense for the Chiefs. They nailed this draft. They got a bunch of players that are going to be able to play right away. They absolutely nailed this draft. I love what they did. And then I want to give a couple of honorable mentions here. I also really like what the Colts did. I think the Colts, they didn't have a lot of picks, but I think they did well. They got another offensive tackle in Bernard Raymond. They got Alex Pierce, the wide receiver. They got a tight end for Matt Ryan, who loves tight ends. I think they did a really good job. And then I got to give a shout out to my Falcons, okay? I don't think the Falcons did exceptional. I don't think that they were one of the best, but I think that they did really good. They did solid. Now, a lot of people, and I can't wait to hear Sean's thoughts on this, didn't like the Drake London pick, but I like it a lot. The more I thought about it, the more I read about it, it makes sense for what they want to do with Arthur Smith. It makes total sense. They have 2 guys now that are absolute threats when it comes to just big body wide receiver that should just dominate in the run game. Love that pick. And then also they got their number 1 quarterback in round 3. And clearly that's their number 1 because that was the only all the quarterbacks were still available other than Kenny Pickett. So they could have taken Willis. They got him in round 3. If he works out, it's a steal of the draft. If he doesn't, you can move on from him tomorrow and draft someone in next year's draft. So they played the board. They didn't move up. They didn't do anything and then they got the dude out of Montana State, who a lot of people were saying is going to be like he actually tested as the most athletic linebacker in the class. And so we need that type of speed. We need that type of aggression. And then they got one of my favorite pass rushers in Ibikite that in the second round as well. They were able to see that he was falling in the second round. They traded above Seattle to get him. Everything they did made sense to me. And then to top it all off, they got the running back out of BYU, who I think also fits Arthur Smith's scheme. So I really like what the Falcons did. I had to shout them out since they're my team. For the first time in a while, I'm impressed with what the Falcons really did. They signed Grady Jarrett back today. That gives us more cap space. I don't think next year's going to be great or anything, but I like the direction. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I actually like the Falcons draft a lot. There's a few teams. I don't know where you're going to have us, but I include us in the category where I don't think you can get mad at a draft when you get 4 starters out of it. So the Falcons have 3 starters, and probably they're going to put Ritter in at some point this year, is what I would believe.
Yes.
The Jags got 4 starters. Several teams got, like the Jets just nailed 4 starters perfectly. It's just where the difference is. I don't think you can fault a draft like that, really, even if it's not the exact positions you want. And the Falcons did such a good job. I mean, your guy Troy Anderson, he's going to be a good linebacker.
Awesome.
Very, very solid. Getting Ebiketie, I knew he was high on Seattle's board, so that's why you made the jump up there. Yep. Very smart move on that. And I'm going to be honest with you about this Drake London pick because I don't know if you think I'm going to shit on it. I actually like the pick. Here's why I like the pick. I don't know what's happening with Ridley, but it gives you more flexibility because the reason why Wilson fits so well with the Jets is they already have Corey Davis, who's big. Corey Davis is a big dude. They have 2 tight ends. Y'all have Pitts, but y'all don't have any other big-time weapon like that outside of it. So Drake London gives you that big body, and this is what I love about front offices, and I think the Falcons did this well, and I think this actually contributed to them picking him. When you scout well, you scout years ahead as well. I just mentioned I have a board going. Out of my top 15 receivers, 12 of them are under 6 foot. So they're 6 foot or under. They're not big targets. So by the Falcons shoring up, getting a big target this year, if they do choose to move on from Ridley, which you never know, it's up in the air. Yeah. And I'm not saying they take him in the first, but a second or third round pick, you're looking at a 6 foot, 5'11" guy. That's going to be your best receivers on the board. So I think they hit a home run in getting the big body guy to go with Pitts because you can find these smaller guys in the round 2 or 3 next year. And that's what's good when you scout ahead of times in classes. So that's what I like about the Falcons. That's what I like about the Drake London pick. So that's what was solid about them.
It's a great pick.
Yeah, I was going to throw out. I think the Eagles did a solid job.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you include the trade, then they just murdered the draft by getting AJ Brown. What a great trade by them to get an established receiver like AJ, especially for the price they paid for him. Not bad. Didn't really have to overpay him in the market either. $57 million guaranteed. You might think that's high, but with the receiver money, that's not too bad. I think DK is probably going to get around 60 at this point from Seattle. That's kind of what the market is. And wherever Debo goes, whether it's the Niners or going somewhere else, you would think that's Debo's market as well. So I love what the Eagles did getting Jordan Davis because I think Jordan Davis needed to go to a specific scheme and getting him there with Fletcher Cox and Hargrave to be able to teach him how to play. That was huge. They found value players wherever they went. I love Jurgens, the center. He's going to be able to sit behind Kelsey for a year and learn.
Yes.
Solid plays by the Eagles. I got to give Howie credit. And he still has that first from the Saints next year. If Hurts don't work out, he's going to be able to get any of these quarterbacks that he wants next year.
Howie did a phenomenal job. He did a phenomenal job. And he's doing what Miami's doing he's finding out if he has the guy or not. And he's also like Nakobe Dean. I understand the thing, but I have to bring him up. I understand the injury. Whenever he gets healthy, he's going to be a great player in the NFL. Unless the guy is injured for the rest of his career, he is going to be a great player in the NFL. The Eagles knocked it out of the board. You're right. They barely gave up anything to get A.J. Brown, and they didn't have to overpay him like crazy. supposedly AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, which I didn't know are like really good friends too. They knocked it out of the park. Great point on that. And also love your point on the Drake London part as well. All right, so let's get into some of our least favorite drafts. And I want to start with an honorable mention, which is your team. I didn't have your team in the least favorable draft because of exactly what you just said. They got players that I really, really like. First of all, I love Devin Lloyd. I had him just Devin Lloyd and Foye Oluokun are going to be two menaces, absolute menaces on the linebacker. I also love Chad Muma. The reason why I have you guys in the honorable mention, I just don't understand why take him. I love him. He's going to be awesome. I don't understand why take him. That's my thing. And then the main reason why I don't get y'all's draft a little bit is just because, and there's a team did it way worse than you guys that I'm about to bring up. They're not doing anything to help Trevor. My whole thing is, and this goes back before the draft even, which is why I didn't put you guys in my worst favorite, in my least favorite, because it's more than just the draft. The smart thing to do would have been to not pay Cam Robinson and go after Iguanu or Neal and help out Trevor Lawrence. All about Trevor Lawrence. And instead, they go after a guy in Walker who he's had a total of 9.5 sacks in his time at Georgia. And it's like, if you're taking him 1 overall, you're kind of putting pressure on him to be a 12, 13, 14, 15 sack guy a year. And I've heard a lot of people say, or Trent Baalke said it himself, he can be an Aldon Smith. Aldon Smith had 12.5 sacks in college in one season. The most Trayvon Walker had in a season is 6. I worry about taking that kind of guy number 1 overall. It doesn't make much sense to me. That's my whole thing. Again, I can't hate on it too much because I genuinely like some of these players that you took. I even like the running back Snoop Conner. Like, I like some of the players you guys took, so I can't hate on it too much. I just don't get it, Sean. I don't get it. Why Trevor should be the only thing on the Jags' mind, because that dude is a superstar. And you got to help him out more, and the coaching staff's going to help him out a ton. But it was right there in front of your eyes. You just take the tackle. Don't, that it also helps your cap. You don't have to pay him. It's just reloading it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I didn't love the Cam Robinson tag when it happened. I think I said that. I was pretty vocal about that.
You did say it multiple times.
But the truth is, once that happened, it really was. It was going to be Walker or Hutchinson at 1. At the Muma pick, so this is all actually on me. I should have known that pick was happening because I had Muma ranked. He was like my 4th linebacker, I believe.
I like Muma.
I should have known it was happening because here's where we're going to get into it on this. The receiving thing, I thought we needed a receiver. I would have taken Pickens in the 2nd. Yeah. Here's the thing. Once we traded for Lloyd, I understand passing on him in the 3rd. The only one we really passed on that was going to possibly make an impact is Tolbert, and that's still a big-time jump in competition as a projection. This is my fault for not understanding the Buccaneers' defensive scheme as much as I should have. I had no clue I knew they brought exotic blitzes. I had no clue they had these weird-ass formations. They play like 3x3s a lot. And I didn't know they did this. And Lloyd, actually, I love the Lloyd pick even more because he's going to play Devin White's role. He is,
and he's going to be phenomenal.
He's going to roam. What Muma is going to do is he's going to play Kevin Minter's role, which I didn't even know he had a role. So on these 2nd and longs and 3rd and longs, what they're going to do is they're going to walk Allen and Walker down onto the edge and stand them up, and they're going to 2-gap the backers, which is going to be Foye and Lloyd, and move Lloyd around with Muma being the coverage backer. So that's how they're going to play it 3x3. And I did not know anything about the scheme fit and system on that. So now that I know that, I understand the pick, and I completely get it because he's the best player available. He is at a position of need then. It's just you don't think you need him because he's not your base defense.
Yeah.
But they use so many formations. But they're going to be able to blitz off of this. I think Aldon Smith's actually the incorrect Walker thing. So let me defend this Walker pick real quick. I like the upside of him, and I didn't like the Aldon Smith comp either. Actually, the best comp is actually JPP. That's his comp. JP came out. JPP came out, barely been in America, raw, athletic freak. I mean, dude was doing backwards handstands down the line and everything. That's what Walker is. Walker's that guy. He's got to work on his pass rush moves and his schemes and everything. And that's what he's going to play. He's going to play the JPP role in the Bucks off the defense. That's where he's at. I also love the Luke Fortner pick. We needed a center. He's going to start center for us. Yep. Again, I can't fault the Jags for getting 4 starters. It's really the helping Trevor part, but you mentioned it. The big thing that I'm kind of underrating, and I never really thought about either, but I'm underrating it. Doug Peterson's going to scheme these guys open a lot more. I hate on the receiving core because I saw what I saw last year. But there was several times where I was like, look, we're running ISO routes with dudes that don't need to be running ISO routes. And I don't think Doug's going to have them out there running one-on-ones. I just don't think it's going to happen. It's going to be a scheme thing. I do think that Doug is thinking this is a reset year for Trevor. We're going to build him up this year. And then maybe they go the Josh Allen route and go all in for a playmaker. I would expect them to add a big-time playmaker next year, but I want to see how Doug can do with him. I understand the ups and downs on the draft, but I just wanted to defend it a little bit. I'm a little higher on it than you, but I understand where you look at it and go, yeah, you could have done that a lot different if you'd have just not paid Cam and built with the tackle out of the start. And I completely get that point. It's an up and down thing. This is kind of a wait and see thing with the Jags on that one, so completely agree.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And the biggest thing is Doug Peterson. Look, if you didn't hire Doug Peterson, you guys –
oh, it'd be a disaster.
It'd be a disaster. It'd be an absolute disaster. But I have enough faith in Doug Peterson to make this up. I get the whole JPP thing and the way the linebacker thing makes way more sense with how you describe that there. But I just don't like the idea of taking a guy at number 1 overall with that much risk of what is he going to be? Is he really end up going to have to just play in the middle? But we'll find out. That's what the draft's all about. So move on to your actual least favorite drafts.
I mean, me and you are probably going to have the same number 1. I think everyone probably has the same number 1. What were the Patriots doing, honestly? I really don't know. I know you have a bunch of friends that are Patriots fans. They had to be livid, right?
Oh, they were livid, bro. They were livid.
At some like all respect to Bill Belichick and everything. At some point, can we just admit that even if Cole Strange is the best guard in the league, that was still a reach, and you could have got him in the second.
Absolutely.
Could have got him in the third, possibly.
Absolutely.
I mean, just because you take a guy and he turns out to be great doesn't mean you still should have taken him there. You know what I mean? Like, did Tyquan Thornton over a lot of the other receivers still on the board? I mean, he's a straight speed guy with Mac Jones, who has a weaker arm. I know he threw beautiful deep balls to like Devontae Smith and them, but they were kind of wide open off the line. He's just throwing it. Tyquan runs one way, straight up and down. His cornerbacks and safeties, which again, that's where I don't want to question Bill much because he knows the secondary better than everyone. And if anyone's going to get the most out of the guy, but they drafted 2 running backs. They drafted a quarterback. Like, I don't understand. They have 6 running backs on the roster.
That's what I don't get, bro. I don't get it. This to me was the worst draft I've seen in a long time. And like you said, I don't give a damn if Cole Strange is one of the best guards.
You traded Shaq Mason. He was like $8 million. Like,
I don't care. It's called positional value.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you could have gotten a really good player in round 1 and still gotten Cole Strange. And then the Tyquan Thornton, you hit on the nail. He's a one-trick pony. He's going to be a good speedster. But you don't have any other receivers. Like, he doesn't open up the flow. He doesn't open anything up for you because all of your other receivers are still, is Devontae Parker going to be healthy? Like, who knows? I can't hate it. I actually like Marcus Jones a lot, and I think Bill Belichick's going to coach him up to be a stud. So I like that draft. This is when things just, like, I told you way, way long ago that I actually kind of like Bailey Zappi, but to take him in the 4th round when you just drafted Mac Jones makes no sense to me. And then the main thing is the running backs here. Bro, it's not like they have 2 running backs that are bad. Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson are good running backs, bro. They're good running backs. Kevin Harris is a really good running back out of South Carolina. What are you going to do? Like, are you just
James White's coming back.
What is he going to do? I had a lot of Patriots fans saying that, like, they think Bill's gone like senile, bro. They think Bill's just dropped off the edge, man. They think that he's just lost it. And it's starting to feel that way, man. Like, he's always been a bad drafter, but this is I haven't seen stuff like this in a while, man. This was terrible.
Bro, Bill's acting like he's gonna call plays. He drafted all these running backs. He's gonna run like 50 personnel out there. There's 5 running backs, no other skill position. Like,
I mean, maybe that's what he's doing. Maybe that's what he's doing.
I don't know, like, dude. I really don't understand. So, in the beginning, I said I don't judge later round picks. Well, in this scenario, when you're drafting 2 running backs and your running backs are good, and before anybody gets on me too, because this would be a comment that somebody that's like super uninformed about the Jags would say, well, the Jags drafted Snoop Connor. They have ETN and James Robinson. Keep in mind, ETN's coming off Liz Frank. James Robinson towards Achilles.
Yeah.
So they need a running back.
They drafted 1. You didn't go draft 2.
Yeah.
1.
Yeah, they didn't draft 2 either.
I mean, we've got Cordell Patterson, we've got Quadria Olison. We still drafted. It's normal to draft a running back. They've got 2 studs, and they drafted 2. Like,
and a quarterback. A quarterback.
I mean, it makes no sense, bro. No sense.
I mean, Bill is kind of above criticism at this point because of his coaching, but I mean, come on, man. You gotta, and the thing is, it's crazy. His draft was good last year.
Yep.
Like, what happened?
A long time. Yeah, I don't get it. So my next one is the Chicago Bears.
We're lost up.
Listen, man. I actually love 2 of their picks in Kyle Gordon and Jaquan Brisker. I like Jaquan Brisker a lot. I think those are 2 really good picks. It just makes no sense what they did. Velus Jones as the receiver that they take. I mean, talk about not helping out a rookie quarterback, man. Justin Fields this is terrible for him. Who's his receiver, Sean? Who is he throwing the ball to? That's it. And then Velus Jones is pretty much like Darnell Mooney. They're both like speed. Like, I don't get any of this, what the Bears are doing. Again, I get that they want to build this defense, and I like Gordon and Brisker, but you guys have a rookie quarterback here that could be really good. I mean, that could be really special. And not even an offensive lineman with the first couple picks, which your offensive line is terrible, not a receiver. I hope that they're planning on going and signing Jarvis Landry or someone else, because this is just, I feel bad for Jones. I feel bad for Justin Fields, man.
Yeah, so I think that's where the rubber meets the road, is that it's not just the draft, it's the offseason as its whole. Because if you look at these second-year quarterbacks, you have Trey Lance coming into a great situation, even if Debo is there or not. But then you look at Zach Wilson. He's gotten the most help so far, I would say. He's gotten the extra receiver with Wilson. Yep. He's gotten the running back with Breece Hall. He's gotten 2 tight ends. They've gone out and they've made as much help as possible. Then you look at Trevor. We talked about it. Not a ton of help, but he still did get Christian Kirk. Zay Jones, I mean, let's be honest. If you look at these Bears receivers, is Zay Jones receiver 2 there? I mean, it's very possible. Yeah. As you look at that, you get Evan Ingram. But most importantly, with the difference with Trevor is you have Doug Peterson designing plays. Here, you're kind of riding on this guy from Green Bay, and it's not your head coach doing it. Your head coach is a defensive guy. So it's kind of strange to see that they would go in the draft and go the way they did. I don't love it at all. Like, you got to help Justin Fields a lot more. That's a scary one for me, because he's going to really have to carry his team a lot more than some of these other quarterbacks are asked to do, and that's where the rub is for me on the Bears. I do like Brisker, I do like Gordon, like you said. I actually like Velus Jones. I just don't like him as your top receiver pick there in the draft. Like, I don't mind it. And then again, I'm not going to break down their O-line people, but you're hoping 1 or 2 of them hits. Like, that's all you got to do at this point.
Yeah. Exactly, because their O-line is just awful.
They're going to be a run team. Montgomery's going to be big. Like, they're going to be a running team.
Yeah.
So, you want to hit your number 3?
Yeah, my last one is the Cowboys.
Oh, okay.
I don't like what the Cowboys did. Tyler Smith, I don't like him. I think he's okay, but he is a walking penalty. The guy got
more they were last year.
And that's exactly, Sean. So they're adding more penalties to a walking penalty. Like, I think, and the reason I think he was a walking penalty is because I think he's slow. I think he got beat a lot. And I think his way of doing that was that he's going to get picked. Now, a lot of Cowboys fans are going to come back and say, well, everyone had him as a first-round grade anyways. I don't care. I don't like that pick. I do not like that pick for them at all. I think that they could have found a way to get another pass rusher to pay. They could have taken Devin Lloyd. They could have taken right. Lloyd went after them, didn't he? Or did you guys trade above the Cowboys?
Yeah, the pick after. Yeah,
the pick after. They could have paired him, which I did in my mock, by the way. Which, by the way, I want to hit on this. In our mock draft, I got, and I'm not talking about correct as in where they went because you can't. There's so many trades you can't get it right. But I got 26 out of the 32 players drafted in the first round right. And I think Sean got 27. I think you might have even got 28. I counted it real quick, but I think you got 28 out of the 32 players right in terms of the ones that went in the mock. I picked Malik Willis. He didn't end up going. I picked Nakobe Dean. He didn't end up going. And I picked Breece Hall. He didn't end up going. And I picked Christian Watson, and he didn't end up going. So good job to you. I mean, dude, 27 out of 32 is pretty damn good.
Yeah, me and you both nailed the Saints, by the way, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Olave and Penning. That was like, and I nailed the top three. I knew Stingley was going three.
You nailed the top three right too. Yeah. So just wanted to say that's pretty good.
Yeah, that was a good job on us, especially our first time doing that. I've literally never done mock drafts until this year, even though I'm saying, man, that
to get 27 for you and 26 for me, that's you missed 5 there, bro. Like that's pretty damn good in a draft that's just chaotic. So really good there. And back to the Cowboys though. It was underwhelming to me. I liked Jalen Tolbert a little bit. My favorite pick was the Jake Ferguson, the tight end from Wisconsin in round 4. I actually think he's a really good tight end. I watched a lot of him. I think he was good. The rest of these guys to me are just I don't know if any Sam Williams, the edge out of Ole Miss, not the second round pick, nothing about that just perks to me. The Cowboys, maybe it's because their offseason has just been so blah too. Just put it together, man. I think the Eagles are passing them right now. I think the Eagles are passing them to take that division when they shouldn't be.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Eagles are passing them as well. So I like the Cowboys draft a little more than you do. I don't love the Tyler Smith thing because of what you said. You can't bring somebody that's super penalty prone to an offensive line that's already really penalty prone to a coach that clearly doesn't coach that out of them, because I don't trust McCarthy to stop that at all.
Exactly.
I like Tolbert, and that was a solid pick. Actually, and the reason why I'm a little more higher on them than you is because I don't mind Sam Williams. I think he's a good pressure maker. Okay. And the Cowboys are actually decent at developing D linemen, especially edge rushers. So I kind of have a higher thing on that. But just their whole offseason has been bizarre, man. It's kind of weird, the choices they've made. It was almost like they chose Cedric Wilson and Gallup over Amari Cooper and then didn't sign Cedric Wilson back. It was kind of strange.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's just a weird kind of thing going on with them. This is probably Zeke's last year. I mean, really, I think they're more rebuilding than they'd want to admit, but I think they're trying to stay relevant on it. So that's something to watch out for. I didn't love their draft, but they weren't top 3 bad. My third, it's funny, we're actually saying that the NFC East, I didn't like Washington's draft.
That's fair. That's fair.
I liked one of their picks, and that was Jahan Dotson, and I think they reached for him.
See, I was just about to say, I don't even really like that pick.
Yeah, it was a big reach. I like Dotson as a player, and I understand that, hey, maybe we couldn't trade back anymore. Maybe there was no takers, and that's just who you wanted to get. But I don't love that, man. I don't love giving Wentz, who kind of throws high to start with, even though he's a go-up catch radius guy. I don't love giving him McLaurin and Dawson on the outside. Yep. I don't love that fit at all. And then if I'm getting on – so before I explain the scheme thing, and a bunch of people before that, even if you don't take the scheme into account, is getting on the Jags about taking Muma. We were killing the Patriots a second ago about taking running backs. Why are the Commanders taking Fedarian Mathis? Like, why are you taking him that high? You have your D line is your strength, and I'd say build more strength. No, you don't need him. He's he's a 2-gap player. You don't need him there. Like,
get a safety, get a cornerback. Like they need to,
And I don't love Brian Robinson either. Because you have Gibson and now you have McKissick back. If they run Gibson more they would win more games. They take him out too much. It
Agreed.
doesn't make any sense. So I didn't love their draft. Again, I'm not going to judge the back end of it. Maybe they can hit on one. And obviously, Hal's a flyer. Let's be real. He's just a flyer at that point.
Yeah.
But I don't love what they did in the draft right there. I like the Wentz move. I feel like that's an upgrade. And I really thought they'd have a chance to really go after the Cowboys and do that. I think the Eagles are the ones that stepped up and did it. Do you have an honorable mention for one that you kind of like were iffy on that you want to give out?
I don't like the Saints that much, man.
Okay, because I knew we were going to do this. I knew you were going to say the Saints because I'm going to say the Titans.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
That's fair. And I want to hear you. I was actually about to ask you something about the Titans. So to that, and to your really quick to your Dotson point, they could have taken Treylon Burks. They could have taken Christian Watson, not in that first round, but they could have done a lot of different things than Dotson there of reaching like that. My thing with the Saints is I love Olave, and they had to trade up to get him to number 11 because of the wide receiver run was happening. But I don't like I know I mocked pinning to them. I don't love the move of pinning. I think that also he's a penalty guy. He also got burnt a lot. But those two are fine. You can say those two. After that, they really did nothing with the draft. After that, I really don't like any of the picks that they did from there on out. And it was just an underwhelming draft to me when, I'll be honest, usually the Saints, I'm always sitting here the next day like, my goodness, they killed this draft. And for the first time, I don't hate it, but the first time it was just a little bit to me.
Yeah, so they were kind of up and down for me as well. I don't love pinning either, but I'm kind of the same mode where if the Steelers take a receiver, which they got my guy Pickens, by the way, which I thought was a great pick. If the Steelers take a receiver, I just go with it. If the Saints take an O lineman, I just go with it. So I don't love pinning, but that for some reason the Saints and the Packers are really good at taking O linemen and just turning them into all pros or Pro Bowl players. So I'm gonna wait and see on pinning. Here's what I say about the Titans.
Let me ask you my question before you go to the Titans. Do you like the idea of this whole value idea of what the Titans did, where they pretty much drafted who they hoped to be another A.J. Brown so they didn't have to pay A.J. Brown? Do you like that idea, or is this one of the reasons why you're going to hammer the Titans?
I actually think that's a solid idea. I just don't love it right here. It's still a downgrade, so that's why they're getting dinged. Definitely. And they're not bottom 3 either because they still kind of had some solid players that I like. Like I actually like Kyle Phillips in the late rounds. I actually think it's a solid slot. And I like Treylon Burks a lot. I'm a big Treylon Burks guy. But A.J. Brown's one of the better receivers. Like outside of Henry, he was your whole offense. So I don't love putting pressure on Burks to go be that guy. And they do have Robert Woods. Let's be honest. They have Robert Woods coming off. But still, I don't love that. The main thing is I don't like Petit Frere that much, and they're trying to run power. I don't think he can play. I don't think he can block power. Like he's going to get overwhelmed a bit. Malik Willis, I like the spot kind of, but I mean he fell for a reason, dude. And now you've got Tannehill getting all chippy with it. I don't love that fit.
It could be an issue
with it. I liked Hassan Haskins because I think he's the perfect backup for Henry. He's basically lightweight Derrick Henry without the speed. But I don't like the Roger McCreary pick. I think he's small. I don't think he can cover. I don't like him that much as a corner. So it's really that the Petit Frere pick, the McCreary pick, you're downgrading with your receiver, which even if it's a smart move to save cap, it's kind of a downgrade. You're going into Henry's last few years. So, yeah, Hassan Haskins is there. But I just don't love it. I think it's kind of up and down. I think the Titans definitely took a step back, whereas I know the Colts are taking a step forward with Ryan. Yeah. I think the Jags are taking a step forward talent-wise, and the Texans, low-key, actually had a solid draft too. I think the Titans are going to kind of come back to the fold, and that division is going to be more competitive for them.
The McCreary thing to me is huge because they still on the board was Andrew Booth. They could have taken Andrew Booth. They could have taken Kyle Gordon. There was cornerbacks way better, in my opinion, than McCreary on the board. Completely agree with you on that. I want to talk about the Texans real quick. Then we got to kind of end it here. I actually like what the Texans did. I don't like the Stingley pick, but after that, man, I think they did a good job. They got Petrie, who I love at safety. They got Christian Harris, which is the most Patriots pick ever. And this, like, I kind of like what the Texans did a little bit. Again, the Stingley part kind of kills it for me because it's just so high for that guy. But if he hits, like a lot of people like him to, that could be a really good draft for the Texans. Then one more question for you. What do you like? Do you like the Cardinals draft? I'm not going to lie, man. Going into it, I said, what the hell are they doing? Now with Hopkins out, it's making a little bit more sense. But are they going to just go? But they run the spread, man. So are they going to do this? Are they going to change to a 2 tight end set with? Because McBride's a baller. McBride can play, but they also signed Zach Ertz back. So what are they trying to do?
Okay, if we're gonna hate on the Jags and Bears for not giving their quarterbacks enough help, I can't hate on the Cardinals for doing what they did. I actually love it.
No, I'm not hating on that. I agree. I love what they're doing. It's just confusing.
So I think McBride's actually an inline tight end. I think they're going to run him on an inline with Connor in the backfield and put Ertz in the slot. Is what they're going to do.
Okay.
And I actually think Ertz in the slot normally. I think Ertz is going to play the X while Hop is out. It's going to be him and Green rotating.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's what the Chiefs do with Kelsey. Look,
Gotcha.
I think they're going to rotate Ertz and Green as the X until Hop comes back, and then when Hop comes back, it's going to be pure spread. I think the whole reason they signed Green back is so that Hop and him can rotate until the playoffs because the Hop's been hurt the last few years going into it, so they want to keep him healthy. So these 6 games being off actually helps that. And I think the whole trade for Hollywood was to make Kyler happy for one, but on top of that, you're now going to bunch set Ertz, Hollywood, and Rondell Moore, and good luck covering that.
Which fat. So that by the way, you're spot on. The Chiefs are, the Cardinals are doing an amazing job giving Kyler talent. And Hollywood, man, he had an amazing season last year.
And he dropped like 3 touchdowns.
He did. Now you give Kyler, who I think's a better thrower than Lamar. Dude, Hollywood's going to ball out. I'm calling this now. I think he might have 1,400 yards.
He's going to be a big fantasy play this year for sure.
I think he's going to have a huge fantasy play. I'm with you. I like how you break that down. I was just confused with the air raid, with the way that Cliff Kingsbury, I didn't understand the 2 tight end thing, but that makes a lot more sense.
I think he's going to play inline. I think he's eventually going to replace Ertz when Ertz retires.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a good point.
All right, let's real quick. Let's real quick hit those top 3 picks next year. Let's break them down right fast.
All right, go. You go first.
Okay, I think Stroud's going number 1 overall. Real quick, just because he's in the pocket, has the size, can really zip the ball all over the place. And no matter what you say, he's throwing to Smith and Jigba, who might be better than the 2 that came out this year. And I'm going to be honest with you, Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably going to be better than all 5 of them, if we're being real, at receiver. His numbers are not going to come down. It's going to be Stroud. He's going to be able to play. I think he's going to be the number 1 because he's a quarterback.
All right, yeah. My number 1 is also Stroud, but telling you right now, watch out for Tyler Van Dyke, the quarterback from Miami. I think this guy could be so special this year that he could leap everyone and end up being the number 1 pick in the draft. It's going to take a great season. But if he has it, I think it can happen. But right now, I'm with you. Stroud is my number 1. My number 2 is Will Anderson. If someone like the Bears are picking number 1 overall, which after we talked about their draft, they easily could be, and they don't trade out of that number 1 pick, they're going to take someone like Will Anderson because he is that good. He is incredible. He is definitely going top 3. You could lock that in now.
Yeah, I don't care how many pass rushers you have. If you're picking top 3 and Will Anderson's there, you're probably taking him. Like, there's no way. He would have been the number 1 pick this year easily.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's my number 2 guy as well. I'll tell you right now, Bryce is my number 3. Bryce and him's interchangeable because it's going to depend on the quarterback. I love Van Dyke. I love what you brought up about that because I think he could sneak into the top 3. Another one to watch, I'm not as high on him as most, but Anthony Richardson out of Florida. Yeah. He could have that Cam Newton-like season, that Josh Allen-like talent because he's going to run and throw when he's big. So watch out for him. I'm not as high on him right now, and we'll break that down when we talk Florida when we go to college football. But, yeah, just so watch him getting into the top 3 a little bit too just because of size. But I think it's Bryce right now.
No doubt, and mine is Bryce as well. And then real quick, because Sean watches wide receivers more than anyone, if one wide receiver is going to sneak into the top 5 next year, kind of like a Jamar Chase thing, who's it going to be?
Well, everyone loves Smith and Jigba, so watch out for him. But I think Kayshon Boutte probably has the best chance to be loved by the league. Coming out of LSU, got the speed, got everything. He was basically their whole offense for the last 2 years, so that's something to watch out. Sleeper guy for me, I love Dante Demas Jr., though, out of Maryland. He's my guy.
I wanted you to give that in. Awesome, man. Good stuff. Thank you guys for tuning in. Follow us at Money Down Pod, Sean at Dumpster Fires Fan, myself at Kayvon_sports. As we move towards the offseason here, we're going to load up on the NBA playoffs. Still a ton of that to go. And then we're going to break down NFL divisions. We're going to talk about the divisions, do some gambling talk, who we think is going to win it. And then as we get closer to the summer, we'll do college football talk, and then we'll really ramp up the fantasy talk. So stay tuned for that. You know where to find us. Like, subscribe, review. It means the world to us. We'll talk to you soon.